Imagine you hold a handful of dry sand. The tighter you squeeze your fist to keep it from escaping, the faster it pours through your fingers. Human attraction works exactly the same way. We've been conditioned by movies and songs to believe that fighting for someone means begging, grand gestures, and long speeches to prove our worth. But in the world of clinical psychology and behavioral patterns, that behavior doesn't signal love, it signals panic. When a woman begins to withdraw, she is processing a shift in how she perceives your value. If your response to her exit is to try and talk her out of it, you are confirming her worst fear, that you are a man who has no other options and no self-respect. Today, we are going to break down the investment paradox, why silence is more persuasive than any argument, and why the moment you stop trying to control the outcome is the exact moment you regain your power. Most people live by default. We live by design. If you are the person quietly dismantling old patterns to build a future that actually belongs to you, you've found your circle. We don't do victim here. We do vision. Subscribe to sharpen your awareness. Leave a comment and bring your insight to the table. No noise, no ego, just the blueprint for a stronger mind. Let's get to work. To understand why convincing never works, we have to look at the law of emotional equilibrium. In any relationship, there is a balance of investment. When one person pulls back, the space between you increases. If you immediately rush to fill that space with pleas, questions, and promises to change, you create emotional pressure. Psychologically, when a human being feels pressured, their natural instinct is to defend their territory and retreat further. By trying to convince her to stay, you are effectively telling her that her feelings are wrong. You are arguing with her reality. This makes her feel misunderstood, and more importantly, it makes her feel that you are needy. In the red pill observation of social dynamics, neediness is the ultimate attraction killer. It signals a lack of abundance. A man who believes he is high value does not beg someone to stay in his life because he knows that his presence is a gift. He understands that if someone doesn't see that gift, they are free to leave. When you try to convince her, you are operating from a scarcity mindset. You are acting like she is the only source of happiness in the world. This burden is too heavy for any partner to carry, and it actually justifies her decision to leave. She thinks, if he is this broken without me, I was right to walk away. Let's look at a story about a man named Julian. Julian was married to a woman named Brooke for 5 years. When Brooke told him she needed to find herself and was thinking about moving out, Julian went into fix-it mode. He spent weeks explaining all the reasons their life was good. He reminded her of the mortgage, the vacations, and the promises they made. He even started doing all the chores and buying her flowers every day, hoping to earn her love back. The negative outcome for Julian was the slow death of respect. Brooke didn't see a loving husband. She saw a man who was terrified of being alone. Julian's kindness felt like manipulation because it was clearly a bribe to get her to stay. She eventually left anyway, but because Julian had spent months begging, he had no dignity left. He had become a shadow of the man she originally married. He learned that you cannot bribe a heart that has already checked out. His mistake was thinking that logic could fix an emotional disconnect. Have you ever found yourself doing extra chores or buying extra gifts just because you felt your partner slipping away? Tell us in the comments, did those gestures actually fix the relationship, or did they just make you feel more resentful when they didn't work? The second concept is the mirroring effect. In psychology, we often mirror the emotions of the people we are with. If you are anxious, frantic, and desperate to convince her, she will mirror that anxiety and feel stressed around you. However, if you remain calm, composed, and willing to let go, she mirrors that calm. This creates a vacuum. When you stop chasing, the space you are trying to fill becomes empty. It is only in that empty space that she can actually feel the loss of you. When you are always there, arguing and begging, she never has to miss you. She never has to wonder if she made a mistake. You are providing her with emotional insurance. She knows she can leave whenever she wants because you'll be there waiting with your list of reasons why she should stay. To regain your value, you must cancel the insurance policy. You must show her that once the door closes, it might not open again. This is not a game, it is a boundary. Let's look at a story of growth, a man named Marcus. Marcus was in a relationship with a woman named Paige. Paige told him she was unhappy and wanted to see other people. Marcus felt the same pain Julian felt, but he had a high-standard mindset. Instead of a long speech, Marcus simply said, "I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not interested in being with someone who isn't sure about me. I'll help you pack your things this weekend." He didn't yell and he didn't beg. He simply accepted her choice. The positive outcome for Marcus was the preservation of the self. Because he didn't try to convince her, Marcus kept his dignity. He spent the next few months focusing on his career and his physical health. He didn't wait for her. Interestingly, because he didn't chase her, Paige didn't have any negative memories of a negative begging ex-husband. 6 months later, she reached out to him, but Marcus had moved on to a woman who chose him without hesitation. Marcus learned that walking away isn't just a strategy to get her back, it's a strategy to get you back. The red pill truth is that a woman's attraction is tied to your strength, not your compliance. Compliance, doing whatever she wants and begging for her time, is a sign of weakness. Strength, knowing your worth and being willing to be alone, is a sign of a leader. If you have to convince her to stay, you have already lost the leadership position in the relationship. And without leadership and respect, the relationship will never be healthy again. Even if she stays because of your begging, she will eventually treat you with contempt because she knows she can control you with the threat of leaving. Why do we fear silence so much during a breakup? Why do we feel the need to fill the air with words when action is the only thing that speaks? Let's talk about this in the comments. Have you ever stayed silent during a conflict and noticed that the other person eventually came to you? I want you to understand that silence is the loudest argument. When you stop trying to convince her, you are sending a powerful message. I am enough on my own. This is the only message that has the power to shift the psychology of the relationship. If she is going to stay, it must be her discovery, not your instruction. Stop being a salesman for yourself. If the product is good, you don't need a closing script. Most people watch to be entertained. You're likely here to be informed. This channel is a space for those who hold themselves to a higher standard of logic. If that resonates, subscribe and join a community that values deep psychology over cheap drama. I want to see your perspective in the comments. This is a place for data and dialogue, not judgment. If you're ready for the truth, stay tuned. The third pillar of our study is the death of respect through persuasion. In psychology, respect is the foundation of all romantic attraction. You cannot love someone you do not respect. When you try to convince a woman to stay, you are essentially asking for a favor. You are saying, "Please stay because I need you." This puts you in a subordinate position. It shifts you from being her partner to being her supplicant, someone who is begging for a crumb of attention. Once that shift happens, her subconscious mind flips a switch. She no longer sees you as a man she can lean on or a man who can lead. She sees you as an emotional liability. The red pill reality is that a woman would rather be with a man she can't fully control than a man who will do anything to keep her. This is because a man who can be bought with the threat of leaving is a man who has no internal compass. If you don't have the strength to stand up for your own dignity when she wants to go, she doesn't believe you have the strength to protect her from the world. Your attempt to save the relationship by being agreeable is actually the final nail in the coffin of her respect for you. To keep her respect, you must be willing to let the relationship die. Let's look at a story about a man named Silas. Silas was with a woman named Sarah. When Sarah started acting cold and mentioned that she needed to find herself, Silas didn't argue. He didn't ask her why 1,000 times. He simply said, "I understand. I want a partner who is excited to be here. If that's not you, I think it's best we part ways now." He then spent his time building his own social circle and doubling down on his career. The negative outcome for Sarah was the weight of the decision. Because Silas didn't fight her, Sarah didn't have anyone to blame for her unhappiness. She had to sit in the silence and realize that Silas was actually a high-value man who didn't need her. She tried to date other men, but she quickly realized that most men are beggars and chasers. She eventually tried to come back to Silas, but by then, Silas had realized that Sarah's inconsistency was a pattern he didn't want in his life. Silas's mistake was not his reaction. It was the fact that he had ignored the early signs of her drifting. He learned that walking away is the only way to see a person's true character. Have you ever noticed that the person who cares less usually has the most power in the relationship? Tell us in the comments. How do you balance caring for your partner with maintaining your own independent happiness?
The fourth pillar is the reconstruction of the masculine identity. Most men lose their way in a relationship because they make the woman their mission. Their happiness, their schedule, and their self-worth are all tied to her mood. This is a psychological disaster. When she decides to leave, his whole world collapses because he didn't have a world of his own to begin with. To never convince someone to stay again, you must have a life beyond the bedroom. You must have goals, hobbies, and a brotherhood that exists whether she is there or not. When you have a mission, a woman leaving is a sad event, but it is not a fatal event. You can mourn the loss of the person, but you don't lose your identity. This emotional self-sufficiency is what makes a man truly attractive. It creates a sense of mystery and stability. A woman wants to be a part of a man's great life. She doesn't want to be his whole life. If you are your own source of validation, you will never find yourself on your knees begging someone to see your worth. You will already know it. Now let's look at a story of growth, a man named David. David's long-term girlfriend, Elena, told him he wanted to take a break to see other people. David felt the urge to cry and beg, but he chose radical accountability. He said, "I'm not a break kind of guy. If you want to see other people, we are broken up. I'm moving my things out tonight." He didn't wait for her to change her mind. He went to the gym every single day. He started a small side business he had been putting off. He became a better version of himself, not for her, but for him. The positive outcome for David was the shift in gravity. By the time Elena realized she had made a mistake, David had already built a new life. He was stronger, more confident, and had more options. When she reached out to talk, David realized he no longer felt the need to convince her of anything. He had found his internal anchor. He eventually started a new relationship with a woman who valued his decisiveness from day one. David learned that the power to leave is the only thing that keeps you from being trapped. The red pill truth is that you cannot keep what you are afraid to lose. If you are afraid to lose her, you will act in ways that make her want to leave. You will be suffocating, jealous, and weak. But if you are at peace with the idea that she might leave and that you will be okay if she does, you act with confidence, clarity, and freedom. This energy is what actually keeps a partner interested. It's the paradox of relationship psychology. To keep her, you must be the man who can survive without her. Why are we so afraid of the empty space that comes after a breakup? Why do we try to fill it with begging instead of growth? Let's talk about this in the comments.
What is one thing you did to reclaim your identity after a relationship ended? As we finish this lecture, I want you to remember that your dignity is more valuable than any relationship. A relationship can be replaced, but once you lose your self-respect by begging for love, it takes years to build it back. Do not give anyone the power to see you as a supplicant. If she wants to go, let her go. Not with anger and not with bitterness, but with a high-value silence. The door is open. If she chooses to walk through it, let her. Your job is to stay in your kingdom and keep building. The right person won't need to be convinced to stay. They will be afraid of the day they might have to leave. Staying until the end isn't just about finishing a video. It's about refusing to look away from the truth. I appreciate you being here for the full conversation. It shows you're ready to apply what you learn rather than just hearing it. Subscribe to lock in this standard for yourself. We're building a community where boundaries and self-respect are the baseline, not the exception. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm looking forward to reading your take. Keep challenging the narrative. I'll see you in the next one.